Welcome to All in One, ladies and gentlemen. This is a podcast where we keep it real, we keep it authentic. Today, we got the panel together. This is our very first podcast. We're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves, and then we're going to go around the room and we're going to talk about the subject. We're going to get straight into it. So today, our host is going to be Leah. She's going to come in. She's going to give us a little bit of background about herself, and we'll go. Like I said, we'll go around the room and we'll introduce ourselves, and we'll get straight into the podcast and right into the topic.
Hi, I'm Leah, and I'm from Georgia. I have two beautiful daughters. I've studied narcissism. I've lived it as well. We're going to dive into unmasking narcissism as we finish introducing the panel. We're going to start with Lady Goddess.
I am 31 and I work in the medical field as a medical biller. And yes.
Moving along, we're going to bring up.
Hi, everybody. I'm from the Bay Area. I'm a mother of two, 50 years old, two daughters, 20 and 16, and I'm just ready to get it. Let's go.
Okay, moving along, we're going to bring in Kason.
I'm Kason. Reside in Florida. I have a 15-year running career in the medical field, and I'm open to discussing the topic today of narcissism and other various topics that we will cover on this podcast, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to bring in Mr. Loki.
How you doing? I'm Loki. I'm born in Mississippi, country born and raised. How about them deers?
Okay, now moving along to Mr. Kent.
Hello, everyone. I just want to take the time to say thank you for this opportunity. For those of you who don't know, my name is Tim. I'm from Ohio, and I'm excited. I'm very excited for this opportunity. I'm very happy that we all made this happen.
Okay, since we done heard from the dynamic panel, we're gonna dive into like real life story and try to give insight on our narcissism and what we have experienced. We all know that this is a ongoing topic that we're working on, and it comes with many of narcissistic traits, personality disorders, and it's so many, but we're just going to try to touch on a few. And before I open it up to the panel, I just want to talk about the red flags to look for. We also want to dive into if you've been in a relationship, have you encountered narcissism in a workplace, in your home, because that's something that happened with me. I encountered it in my home. Also on jobs, in friendships. So as we get ready to dive in, I'm going to call God is Up. She's going to be the first on the panel to give a story, a real life story about something that she have experienced. And so here she is. Let's go, Goddess.
Hi. And somebody else go first. Pretty please.
Gotcha. So, have I gone through a situation where I had to face a narcissist? I've been in a situation where the person had narcissistic traits, not necessarily full-blown narcissism, but it was definitely in a relationship. And I came across this meme that had, it says narcissism on it, and it says 5 types of narcissists, and there are 5 traits, basically. And as I went through it, I saw myself and I saw other individuals as well. And one of the traits are they're arrogant with a sense of like self-importance. The other trait was defensive and fragile. They're sensitive to criticism. And then the third trait was they belittle and exploit others' personal gains. The fourth point was they inflated self-view. They're making themselves like seem more important than what they are, basically putting themselves on a pedestal. And then the last trait is they're aggressively malicious. And I was thinking about some of the arguments that I was in the past relationship, and how some of these traits were displayed in that argument. I'm not going to go too deep into detail of what the argument was about, but they definitely like put themselves on a pedestal. Like they are the prize in the relationship. And each of these steps, they basically exploited that. And the arrogant part of it, even though they weren't at the place that they should have been for the age that they were, they definitely tried to do a lot of comparison from the standpoints of the type of men that they were used to, given my background of being a person that basically had one foot in the door, one foot out the door as far as career wise, and still dabbling with the streets, shall I say. You know, they said slow money is, the best way, but she was used to the fast money. And I was trying to change that narrative for myself at that moment in time. And with that being said, that brings on a lot of, drama that was kind of unnecessary. But the way I got over it was basically removing myself from the picture, because I don't think that narcissists change from outside influence necessarily in a situation. They they have to do some deep down soul searching, and it's a process, because these are habits that are hard to unlearn, especially when it comes down to being defensive. But that's a light version of the actual story. But maybe in the future we can get a little bit deeper and expound on it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to pull back the layers and get down to the root of it. Because when you really sit down and you think about it, when you're talking about narcissists, they have a blatant disregard for your feelings. They have a blatant disregard for basically any type of structure that you can imagine having for yourself. Their goal is to just sit there and display dominance over you. They have a control issue. They have serious control issues. They gaslight you, and they try their best to manipulate you in any way, shape, form, or fashion that they possibly can. And you have to recognize when these things are happening, because a lot of times when it's happening, it's disguised in a way that it almost make you seem like you crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like they will literally make you like, no, I didn't say that, knowing darn well they said exactly what it was, or they did what they did. And then it's like, nah, I didn't do that. You don't remember that correctly, or something like that. Something along those lines. It's always something though. They come with the love bomb, and they'll come with they give you all these high praises or whatever the case to keep you right there in that track. That, what I'm saying, just play the puppet master and pull the strings as needed. It's ridiculous how victims are normally looked at as if they are the ones that's at fault for the behaviors or what happened to them, or how did you allow this to happen or whatever. And you have to understand that some of these people are real good at what they do. They've been doing this all their life. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you don't really recognize it when it's happening to you, especially if you think you're in love with that person. You know what I'm saying? It's just the level of mind control, the level of manipulation, especially if you are a people pleaser. And that's the thing, that's a whole nother subject for a whole nother podcast. But if that's what you kind of identify with, or don't realize that you identify with this type of behavior, you will continue to give, and you will continue to be like, I can do more, I can do better, or I can be this, or I can be that, before you decide to actually, control what's going on, and just take advantage of what's happening. So yeah, you definitely got to look for the red flags. You have to understand what those red flags are. There's a whole lot to this whole picture, but again, it's layers. You take it back little bits at a time so that you can understand and you can get a clearer picture of when you are being gaslit, however you want to say it. But yeah, you definitely have to take heed to what's going on around you. You know.
Yeah, I have a question for Kason. Do you think that this is a learned behavior, or is it something that started from, like childhood, as in trauma?
I think it's a behavior that is adapted because it's like a wall, you know, stemming from some insecurities. Because one of the signs is making yourself seem greater than who you really are, or making yourself seem superior. And I think a lot of people mix up their confidence with the arrogance, and they use that to make themselves seem more, like I said, more important than what they really are, because they're deflecting in a sense, in a way. But it's definitely a something that's learned over time, like a survival tactic. But that's from my understanding, though. It's definitely a survival tactic, and people, adapt to it and they perfect the art. And like Uncle was saying, you know, they definitely used it to their advantage, so they can manipulate other people to get to where they're going, or to make themselves seem like they're on the path when they know that it's lack thereof in other areas of their life. And the biggest thing is to make someone feel inferior. It's a dominating thing.
Okay. Goddess, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted to add on to that. I also think how you're raised, because I'll go more into it because I was with a relationship with a narcissist, and I think that his mom put him on a pedestal, and he could do no wrong. And when I would tell her, like, hey, he did this to me, this is why I left, she's like, no, that's my son, there's no way. So I feel like it's one of the other ways, it's like how you're raised and how your parents have raised you, I think that can also add on to the behavior as well.
Do anybody else want to hop in and say anything about concerning that?
If you don't mind, I would like to also speak. I believe that it is, like they said, it's an acquired taste, but yet it's also learned in also the same manner. Because when you're in school, that's also a given trait. You know what I'm saying? Everybody want to be the number one or seen as a top dog, and so therefore they subject themselves to them type of things to become, and that kind of nurtures that behavior, if you want to so called say.
Okay. Well, I can agree, but at the same time, I feel like it's can be handed down, from like become a generational curse. And I say that because of my life. I lived at home with a narcissistic parent, and I didn't know what it was at the time. I just know that I was going through something. I kept seeing like patterns of when the abuse started. It was just a lot, but I won't, just go so deep right now into that. But yeah, I I believe that it could be a learned behavior, like Loki said. You want to be cool, or you want to just look like somebody, whatever. So therefore, you start taking on a fake persona. But I also know that it can be passed down from generation, and it takes a lot of, oh my God, it takes a lot of work, a lot of healing, and a lot of being honest with yourself. You really have to be honest with yourself, because in today's society, people use that word loosely, narcissist or whatever. Some people have the trait of a narcissist, and some just full blown narcissist or whatever. But a lot of time that word is thrown around loosely.
is that a type of not we're gonna say learned behavior, but yet a nurtured behavior?
You saying can it be a nurtured behavior?
Yes.
Yes, most definitely. Like if you have a parent that is a narcissist or have the traits of a narcissist or whatever. But most of the time, if the person have the traits, they could kind of be aware of something is not right with them. But 9 times out of 10, a narcissist, they won't recognize none of that. So what they do is they teach it to their children. They teach behaviors to their children, so it become a learned behavior. Yeah, it become a learned behavior. So there's anybody else want to chime in?
I had my hand raised. So I just wanted to, from California, from the Bay Area, I do want to just touch on the narcissistic behavior. I experienced that in our intergenerational curse through my life as a child. And I experienced it from firsthand, So this is a real touchy subject for me, but I think would be a great subject to speak on today to let others kind of hear and learn from my experience. And so, obviously I come from a mom and dad. I have an older brother who is 7 years older than me. And I was actually given to my grandmother at birth. And my grandma died when I turned 9 years old. And my mom and dad and brother lived in a different home, across town. And I was raised there. I never understood why I was raised in this home, but, because I was raised with like all of my cousins and my aunties and my mom's sisters and so forth. And what I mean by intergenerational curse and narcissism is it's very deep. And for me, as a child, I didn't understand until I became an adult and I had children of my own what it meant, what intergenerational curses were, and what narcissism meant. And when you're in a narcissistic relationship, whether it's family ship, whether it's your relationship with, a husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, what I experienced growing up is family that is very narcissistic, very, very cursed in a bad way. I remember my mom and dad always praying at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. every night. But I never understood, how do you pray and you're still bitter? And the bitterness only was towards and directed towards me. So I grew up with, after my grandma died, my aunt mom, which is who I call Aunt Mom, which is my mom's, one of her eldest sisters. I was raised with her all my life until about 17 years old. And that particular moment in time, I left because I was just done. I was tired of being exploited. I was tired of being gaslit. I was tired of not being able to see my parents. I remember as a child crying through the window when they would leave. And, but I never understood the hate from my mother, you know. And to this day, I'm 50 years old. I have daughters of my own, 20 and 16. You got to excuse me because this is a very touchy subject for me, but I want my story heard because I want people to learn that you can get better. So I grew up, I lived on my own, and I found love elsewhere through different men, the wrong men at that. I ended up, not having a relationship with my family that I wanted. I was a very family oriented person, but I was always gaslit from my mom. She had this narcissistic behavior towards me. Like I was never enough. And more so recently, fast forward to my life now, I don't have the greatest relationship with my family, but I do have the greatest relationship with my father. And he's like the string to my heart, to my family. And when my father got ill, there were many times that I was never given a phone call to let my dad know my dad was in the hospital. And I would find out from other people. And I never understood. And I said, God, why? You know, why me? Why am I the oddball? Why did I grow up like this? You know, I'm great. I'm a great person. I love hard. I work hard. I raise my daughters extremely well. And I still never understood like why I was not enough for my mother. And I had to really turn to God and really try to get through. And to this day, as you can see, I'm very hurt. I haven't spoken to my mom in 2 years. And that's because my narcissistic brother moved my parents away to Fairfield, which is an hour and a half away from me. And I don't see them. She chooses not to talk to me because of the last situation when my dad was hospitalized, which I found out from my ex-sister-in-law, my brother's ex-wife. And my mom said I acted as if I was running the show when I got to the hospital. I said, well, you know, it's kind of weird. My dad is my dad, and, you know, I should ask questions. I am his daughter, you know, and she like literally hung up in my face. And I said, that's crazy, being who I am, you know. But I want people to know that if you put God as the head of your life, there's nothing that could never change. And I will say this, and I'm going to land my plane right here because I'm kind of emotional, but my daughters are the number one thing in my life that I would never be able to be a narcissistic, corrupt, cursed mother to my daughters. I am extremely loving. They are like the most important thing in my life. And I mean, narcissism, you can get it off top. You can get it in family, relationships, everything. And this is a hard topic for me because I didn't know what to speak about today, but I prayed about it and I wanted you guys to hear where the hurt in my heart came from. And my parents are now 81 and 80 years old. And the one thing that I fear the most is that I'm not going to be able to say I'm sorry. And I'm not going to be able to say I love you for the last time. So I promise you that this is real life and that whoever this reaches, I hope and pray for you as well. But I will land my plane. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do anybody else want to speak on this? You know, have anybody else encountered from a parent or, you know, sibling or anyone?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. But mine was my ex-husband, very charming, very, very charming at first. We were in a relationship for 4 years. I saw the red flags, but we were doing the long distance. So I moved, gave up everything, moved. And of course, one of the things is they isolate you from everything you know. Of course, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anybody. And then another thing was that everything I would bring out or everything I did was always my fault. Why he cheated on me was my fault. Why he did something was always my fault. And it was like, oh, I, it was, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could say so much. It was like, but every time I would try to leave, it was always like showered with material stuff like, oh, I got you a Michael Kors bag, or I got you shoes, I got you this, I got you that. And then it would start again. I mean, it was crazy because I was reading a book a while ago and it was saying it takes a typical person to leave a narcissistic relationship 7 to 8 times in general. I think it took me about that many times or more. I tried to leave him. I don't know how many times I have told my mom, my friends, oh, I'm finally leaving him. I'm finally leaving him. I'm finally leaving him. And they finally stopped like believing me. And when I finally left, they didn't believe me until they saw me. But what I can say is that when I left, my self-esteem was really low. Like I thought I was the problem. I thought everything I did, don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect, but everything that I did or everything that happened was my fault because it was always blamed on me. The marriage didn't work out because it was me. Um
So do you feel do you feel better that you left, or do you feel like you should have did a little bit, could you have done a little bit more to keep it afloat?
no, I feel way better. Like I feel great that I left because I have a kid and I don't want my baby to grow up in that and think that's normal. Um, and raise him and have an example of that. I don't want to raise a man and have another person like him. And who knows, he could have been a great father. All I have to say is it's definitely taken me time to heal and love myself and know that yeah, like I'm not perfect. I had my problems, but it wasn't all me.
Do you feel more enlightened?
Enlightened that I left.
Yes,
Oh yeah. If I didn't leave, I wouldn't have met you guys. I
right
would
on.
I would have been stuck. I would have been miserable. I would have been um I I don't know. I was crying every single day. I was alone 90% of the time. I was miserable. I yeah, I was isolated. Yeah. So yes, I am very happy that I left.
I have a
That's
question for the panel. If you have encountered this right here, this is for the ones that have went through, the abuse or, had a partner or somebody that just really hurt you. Have you ever thought about, like when you start hearing the word narcissist, did you ever check yourself and think that maybe I'm a narcissist? Did anybody encounter that? Goddess, you want to shed
Yeah.
some light on that? Okay.
Yeah, right when I left, I thought that because I went to therapy for a while, because I was like asking my therapist, and I was like, maybe I'm the narcissist. Like I went with my past trauma, like maybe I am one. And I think I said that earlier when we were on TikTok, and she started laughing at me, and she's like, no. And she she knew my ex because I've told her about him a lot more in details. And she's like, no. She's like, I have heard so many people say that after they get out of a relationship or any kind of situation that they've been in with a narcissist. They're like, maybe I'm it, because they get blamed and they're like, you're the problem. It's always your fault. It's you. They never take blame, accountability, nothing. So she's like, no. But for the longest time, I thought it was me. I was like, dang, like I messed up, like I ruined this relationship. And I couldn't forgive myself for a while.
I definitely didn't think it was ever me. It was just a sore subject that I was left behind all my life. I've always still been left behind, even to present day. But what I've learned, like I said, how to do is to really hold on to the hem of God's, the cloth of God and Jesus, and really dive into his word, and really, God said to me, you are not alone. I'm everything. I am your mother, your father, your brother, everything. Now, if I did not turn to God, I would either be crazy or what have you. And I also, too, went to family therapy. time and time again. I also, too, went to individualized therapy time and time again. Graduated, went back, graduated, went back. And I always thought it was me growing up. And, what did I do to my mom? And, why does my mom not love me? And what did I do? And, and coming to the present day, I come to realize that it's not me, it's her. And I can't change her. And I can't change my brother. The only person that isn't narcissistic is my father. And I check in with my dad all the time. And he is the only person that is like the thread to my heart, to my house, to my family. And not seeing my family for many, many of years has like destroyed me inside completely. And I've learned to do our own traditions, our own family things here at home and celebrate ourselves, So that's why I want people to learn that it may or may not be you. Go into therapy. There's nothing wrong with therapy. It is a very touchy subject. It's something that I'm dealing with currently with my brother, who I haven't spoken to in 20 something years. My mom has been 2 years and some change. They're very narcissistic, very I'm this, I'm that, you're not matching me, you're not XYZ, but I was the one that graduated school. I was the one that went into the medical field 26 years. I was the one that became an entrepreneur chef for 7 years and owning my own company and things and so forth. And but I will say this, that you're being or having experienced narcissism is not forever. I promise you. I have, to this present day, I have 2 beautiful daughters. They're amazing in my life. I have a man, I will not mention his name, but I'll say Silver Fox, who is an amazing man in my life. Amazing. I mean, utterly amazing. And that's what makes my life keep going. And my AIO family. Like, I know that this was a God sent thing, for us to be able to speak on life and to be able to speak and breathe and spit game like no other. And, to reach out into the world that it is real and that you can get through it and it's okay. If we build each other up, that's the only way to go. But I will say it's not forever. But I will say this, I miss my mom and dad, my brother, but I pray for them every day. And that is all I can do. Their narcissism is no longer going to affect me. That intergenerational curse has been broken. You understand? But I see family through my friends. That's who my daughters call auntie, uncle, grandma, whatever, you know, and it's okay. You whoever your family is who you make family. It doesn't have to be, blood related, and I just feel like, this is a topic that like it runs through the entire world. There are a bunch of narcissistic people that are hurting very normal, heartfelt people like myself. And I never understood to this day. Like, I even talk to aunties and uncles and they ask me, well, what did you do to your mom? I'm like, nothing. I don't even know. I'm confused, you know, but it does end when you want it to end. And when you separate yourself from them, your life gets better.
Anybody else?
So I I was piggybacking off of Goddess. I had this similar situation. It's something about that love, man. It's crazy. I can honestly say that I was a victim of my loyalty at that moment in time of my life when I was facing narcissism. And the process that I went through or the mindset that I had, I was trying to, instead of focusing on them and recognizing what was happening during the process, I found myself tearing myself apart. I was, maybe I can do this better. Maybe I can do that better. I was trying to find ways to improve myself. Maybe if I work 2 jobs and be able to afford and get this and do that and give her these experiences, it will change her perspective or her mind or have her recognize my value as a man. And with that, it was becoming more and more draining and a burden during that process. And it came to the point like I found myself drinking more. I was like eating more. Like I was just going through like my only focus was on their happiness and making sure that they were okay. And I totally was like forgetting about self. I didn't care about nothing. And I was like totally blind during that process. And like Uncle saying, when you're in it, you do not see none of this. You are blinded by the person and everything that they're throwing at you. And it's like you take one dart and you try to pluck it out and try to fix it and there's another one right on the way, you know what I mean? Or you get a little break where they may be love bombing you and you thinking that things are going to change and it doesn't. It's just setting up for the next plot. And it's like before you know it, you're a year in, you're 2 years in, you know what I mean? It's like time is just passing and you're holding on to a hope that things will change and it never does because you're the only one trying to find a solution. They're content where they're at and they're not trying to change a thing. And the only person that was suffering during that time mentally, like I would go to work, come home, I would literally sit outside the house in the car for like 30 minutes, like just trying to gather my thoughts. I would actually pick up hours at work not to come home on time. It's like it was so much like so many things that I was doing trying to keep the so-called peace during the process that I physically was like exhausted. And they thrive on that. They thrive on that. And it's crazy that like now, moving forward, I can see it clearly because I'm out of the situation. But it's a whole different experience when you're in it and you're actually dealing with it. It's hard to sometimes it's hard to recognize. And yeah, that's it.
Low key, 10th, do y'all have anything y'all want to add to this?
I don't, honestly. No, I do. I do. I have a question, and this is for anybody. How do you identify a narcissist? What is a narcissist? Have we broken down what a narcissist is?
We're going into that.
Okay.
But thank you for asking. Oh my God, it's so much when it comes to it. A narcissist is so broad, but I'll tell you some ways that you can recognize a narcissist just from my experience, not even from what I've gotten. One, I'm gonna say with a man, with the male narcissist, you have to be careful in how you can. How I recognize is because of how many times a man tell me I'm beautiful. That one man and what he's trying to do, you know, he's broken. Narcissists, they are broken. They are operating from a dark entity. They don't have no light in them. They have a mask on, walking through the earth, acting as if you see their faces, but they are not that person. And when they feel insecure about themselves, they think when they meet a woman, and it's so much. I just not saying so much because I could just go on and on for days about this situation, and it'll lead to other places or whatever. But when they meet you, they're broken, and they can. I'm gonna say this right here. They can sense the brokenness inside of you, even when you're healed, because you won't ever always be healed until you leave here. You could go through the healing and something else could come and it could trigger you, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, they can sense something in you, or you can have the residue in you. I don't know, but they can sense that. And so the first thing they're going to do is shoot their shot, and the first thing they're going to do is say how beautiful you are. That's the number one thing that I see when it comes to a narcissistic male. Two, they're going to repeatedly tell you what they can do for you, how they'll take care of you. I mean, and it'll just go on and on and on. A man that is not toxic, they're going to pretty much show you. They don't have to really just tell you. But if they decide to tell you, they ain't going to tell you over and over and over again. Okay, Loki, you could
No,
step
I just
in.
wanted to ask you a question. So you saying that they are selling dreams?
They selling dreams. It's called love bombing. They'll like and if Kason said you don't see it coming. Only thing that you think it is that, oh, I have met this man. Oh my God. They like the man of your dream or the woman of your dream, because they have faked it for so long and learned these behavior, or it has been passed down. And when it been passed down, most of the time it's in your home, and they see it has been done on them, and they'll turn around and do it on someone else, which I'm going to share my story a little later, in the podcast, about somebody going to be able to get this, and they're going to be able to understand who they are and how they got to this place. But I won't go into detail yet. But yeah, they fake it, Loki. They fake it, y'all. They fake this thing, and they just feel like this is the man of your dreams, the woman of your dream. And once they know that you are locked in, the mask will fall off. And when the mask fall off, sometimes it slips off. It'll slip down, and when it slips down, it would make you leave them or something, but you don't. You don't. And once you don't leave them, when that mask slip down, that's when it start falling off a little bit more. And before you know, they'll start discarding you. And that means that whatever they once was giving, the amount of love that they was giving you, the things that they was giving you,
So you saying that was all a facade?
facade. Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay. Now you got 10 over yonder on the panel.
So to answer your question, 10, it's a lot to it, but I can't with a woman, so I'll just go through the friendship. When you're around that woman's gonna she acts superior. It's like she's more superior than you. She's gonna always try to outshine you. Her energy is gonna, I don't know, it's just like it's toxic, and you can feel it. But at the same time, if you're a self-checker, you're gonna think it's you that feel that way. No, it just mean I don't need to act like that. You're gonna always check yourself and try to correct yourself when all the while it's coming from that individual. I have a brother. He's not my real brother, but he's my brother. That's her husband, one of my friends, her husband. And I picked it up that she was, once I really found out what a narcissist were, I I was like, okay, she's a narcissist or whatever, but he had been going through for a long time. And nothing, only thing that happened in that relationship is he is changing. He's always trying to change things to make things right, make things better. But she does nothing. She just shine. She do whatever she wants, spend all the money that she want to spend, and she do absolutely nothing, because it's almost like he's entangled. He's there. Is a child involved. It's a lot. Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, I have my hand raised. I don't know if y'all see me, but If you don't mind, can we go back to the okay? Well, first off, I want to say I've dealt with a narcissistic lady before, but I just got a question. As a man, I feel like I feel like you just I feel like I'm a narcissist by the way you describe the narcissistic man. The calling. What did you say about okay? He's gonna call you beautiful. He's gonna. I forgot the other one.
I said that a narcissistic man in one setting, you don't have to tell me I'm beautiful 20 times.
Okay,
I'm
that's
just
fair.
that's a red flag. You know what I'm saying? You got so a men that they see meet this woman and they think that she is beautiful, and when they're looking at it, it was like, my God, you're beautiful. That you're gonna say that. But once you just keep saying you're so beautiful, I can do this. When you start adding on all these things that you can do or whatever, but you still hitting that keyword beautiful, I'm telling you, it's it happened every time with me. And being that I study on it, I have lived it, and I have even been the played the narcissist. I played roles of the narcissist, but I didn't want to get into all that until so I know the mind of it, and I know the mind of the narcissist because I was. That's what go back to Loki. I think maybe some others, maybe you expanded on it earlier that about I played the role. I was it was Loki said that is it a learned behavior? And I think you also case have said that you think that it's a learned behavior. But yeah, I played the role because that's what I learned. I learned that from how a man treated me, and so I started doing to him because I had attachment problems. I didn't know what to do, so I did to him what he did to me. But as I study and as I learn and understand this thing to a T, that's what I did. I took on the role of a narcissist many of times. But to answer your question, no, you're not a narcissist. I'll just say this: when you saying she's beautiful, are you genuinely saying that she's beautiful, or are you saying that because you're trying to get something from her?
I'm gonna put it like this. Y'all know, okay. Okay. I don't mean to get like I don't mean to personalize this whole thing, but y'all know me. Y'all know me from other panels. So I don't talk much, and if I say something, I mean that. Like I'm not gonna say it just to be saying it. Like no, I mean that. So even pivoting off of what did you say? You said something along the lines of he's going to tell you all of these things. First of all, if I like you and if you can get me to I guess fight the urge, or I don't know, if I can no longer fight the urge of telling you that you're beautiful over and over, you got me. Like I'm sorry if I'm taking this topic and trying to make it positive, but it was just the way that you described the man as he's gonna tell you, you're beautiful. First of all, I feel like a narcissist, they mean the things that they mean. Like I feel like to be a narcissist, it takes a certain, how can I say this? To hate somebody, it takes a certain level, it takes a certain um level of love to hate somebody. Like, am I making sense? For somebody to want to have uh
That much hate for you, you had to have started it to love.
like they love you that much. Okay, okay. Hold on, because I'm about to get into something. Um,
Come
so
on with it.
okay, so let's see. Let's say someone loved you so much that they felt like they were the best fit for you. Like you were like they were your only friend.
God's gift to earth.
Like can't nobody else love you like I love you. And in reality, you believe that. You believe like, okay, I know they love me, but damn, like, can you can you ease up? Can I breathe? This is suffocating. When someone loves hard, I'm just trying to I'm trying to
I got you. I hear
understand
where you
like
going.
how because even going back to how the whole narcissist thing is so watered down now. Like I feel like we could be okay. Let's be real. We could have a narcissist in the panel right now. Going back to what sis said, like she's shown these behaviors, which
Quality.
yeah. So it's like, damn, like I don't know. How does one recognize this? How do I know if I'm not a narcissist my darn self? You know, like y'all follow? Y'all
Now it
follow?
goes back. Now it goes back to the point of you actually realizing that narcissistic is easily acquired because all it takes is a certain level above arrogance to become a narcissist. Is what I'm gathering.
Arrogance though?
I mean, because think about it. When you talk, if you think about what said, you got to have arrogant demeanor. You know what I'm saying? But yet it's about me, and so therefore I'm gonna tell you about me and what I can do for you from me. So everything has to deal with me, 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 me. It's the quality that I'm looking at.
Keep going,
Step on in.
Loki. You onto something? Go ahead. Keep going, Loki.
Well, all I can say is if if people actually think that, you know what I'm saying, everybody has a bit of a quality of a narcissist. It's just the whole point about will you amplify it or will you make it, you know what I'm saying, die down? That's the only question. I land my plane.
Yeah, that you want to chime in? I see you had your hand raised.
Okay. I was gonna say was V. You were saying how you had somebody say you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful. I didn't have somebody say that to me. Um, so for me, I would question like, am I beautiful? I had somebody be like, oh, I'm better looking than you, pretty much, you know? So for me, I would always question like, am I like even cute? Like, am I even cute? Am I even the same level as you? Because he would always rate me pretty much like, oh, you're only a 6.5 or you're only a 5. Like, so I always felt really like, I don't know, like I never really being with the narcissist, like he never really told me that. But like I said, I've only been with one. So maybe that's my experience with one. So I just wanted to add that to that. So yeah.
So you're saying he made you feel low? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
because
saying?
he would always rate me. He would always be like, "Oh, I've been with the better looking woman than you. You're only a 6.5."
So basically, he was shooting. So basically, the words he was speaking were like knives and needles to your body.
Yep.
Okay, okay. So next, what told you to it's time to break away? What made you feel like it's about that time?
When I was pregnant, and I found messages for like the 20th time, and I knew he was never going to change.
Okay, okay. So now that you've seen that he won't change, you know what I'm saying? Just what if he would have came to you and been like the person that you kind of been looking for? Would you have still threw out the window,
Say that again?
or would you have would you have let him come back or stick
No,
around?
because he kept saying, he would say he is going to change, he's going to go to therapy, he's going to change, he's going to change whenever I would threaten to leave. And that was the thing, is every time, there was a few times where I did drive back to Oregon, but I would go back. There was like 3 times I did that, but I always went back to him. And every time it was the same results. And when I was pregnant, I remember looking at those text messages between him and this girl, and I knew that he just was never going to change. I just was looking at it and I was like, my baby, I And on top of that, he was physically abusive to me. So I didn't want
And
to raise my little boy around that.
okay, that's what's up. So therefore, you created illuminating light to help you propel forward.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. So,
Okay. 10 had a question, and so I just pulled up my notes on identifying a narcissist can be tricky. Just letting y'all know what this is, especially because they often mask their true nature. However, there are key traits and behavior commonly associated with narcissistic personality disorder. Anytime you get on this subject and you're talking about this, I feel like anybody that know about this and have experienced the abuse from it or whatever, you're gonna question yourself and wonder, am I a narcissist? Because I believe that we all carry the
quality.
trait,
Yeah.
and the reason why I feel like we all carry the trait is because of the trauma that started from early on in life. We carry some type of trait, but I think Loki said that, I'm just paraphrasing, where he said it's as if you either can have the traits and you can intensify their traits that can turn
Uh-huh.
into becoming full-blown narcissist, or you can, check yourself and say, hey, something don't seem right because I'm always acting this way. I always want to be seen. Just things that you want to do, and you start checking yourself and refraining from it, trying to turn away from those things. Then the traits eventually leave.
Right.
But
Subside.
where's 10th?
I believe
To
was
see.
So to touch on basis of what we're getting here is like we're looking at the fact that we're saying that the traits can be innate within us because of our upbringing, because of how we were raised, or an experience that we've had, throughout a relationship, or whether it be with a parental figure or whatever the case. Bottom line up front is what we're saying is that hurt people hurt people. And what we end up doing is passing on those same traits down the line, generationally. And it starts with, it's like this right here. If you know how to fix a car and you never went to any type of certification program, 9 times out of 10, you learn that trait from, I don't know, a relative, whether it been your uncle, dad, what I'm saying, whoever, who've learned that trait from someone else. It was passed down through generations. And a lot of times we continuously do things simply because it's something that we are accustomed to. It's something that we have been trained to do. It is something that, for the lack of a better term, it just seems right because it's the norm. It's what everybody is already doing. Bringing it back full circle when you're talking about narcissism and how it's perpetuated throughout our cycles, throughout life, because no one takes the time to say, hey, this isn't right. We have normalized a lot of the trauma and things that we've had. So a lot of times we don't recognize when these things are happening to us because we feel like it's normal. And it's not normal because we've normalized everything from being in a single family household to what I'm saying, just however we get through on a day-to-day basis. We normalize all of these things because we feel like it is something that basically is what we're supposed to do. When you're dealing with a narcissist, and this is person, whether it's a parent, especially if it's a parent, and they're withholding love from you, they would send up here and they act as if, what I'm saying, oh, you didn't do XYZ, so I'm not gonna do this for you. You know what I'm saying? It becomes that tit for tat, that quid pro quo. You must do something in order to receive something. That alone is a manipulation trait. You know what I'm saying? It's the stick and the carrot. However, you're getting more stick than you're getting carrot. That carrot is just it's a placeholder. What they end up doing is they always move the finish line. Oh, you can do this. If you do this, I'll give you this. And as soon as you get close to it, well, you didn't do this right here. So now you got to go do this right here too. You know what I'm saying? It's that stick and carrot, you know what I'm saying? But when you're wrong, boy, do they come down with that stick. When they feel like you are wrong, I'm not even going to say that you are wrong, but when they feel that you are wrong, they come down on you heavily, you know what I'm saying, berate you, whatever the case, make you feel small as you possibly can to continue to control you. You know what I'm saying? So you have to learn to recognize when these things are happening and learn to play their game against them. You know what I'm saying? So if you can recognize that when the gaslighting is happening, you can turn it back around. So when they come in and they start to love bomb, they're looking for a reaction out of you. Even with that, if they tell you that they love you, I love you, I love you, you're so beautiful, they're looking for a reaction. And you give them one, thank you, and you walk away. That's it. Because what they're looking for is attention. And what you do is you starve them of that attention. And the second you do that, then you'll start to see their true colors. You're going to see how they would go the extra mile because, wait a minute, you were supposed to do this and you didn't do it. So now I got to step my game up to make it seem, you know what I'm saying, to go even harder. But all you do, if you remain calm, if you learn to recognize these little games and stuff that they're playing when they playing it and just volley that junk right back at them, they can't stand that. They cannot stand to be called out. You call them out when they are doing the things that they are doing that you know is the narcissistic trait. If they lie and you know they're telling a lie, call them out on the lie right then and there. Don't even wait. Call them out right then and there. You know what I'm saying? Whenever they do something. And another game that I like to play with them, because you know what I'm saying, I was talking this earlier, is like playing games. This is one of the things that they love to do, especially if you're in a relationship. Oh, I'm getting ready to go out. I gotta go run some errands. I'll be right back. You know what I'm saying? The fact that you're going to run errands, but you don't want to state where you are. But the second I get ready to walk out the door, you want to know every step that I'm going. I hit them with the same answer. Oh, where you going? Oh, I'm about to run errands. I'll be right back. I'm gonna give you one of your answers. And do it just like that. Call them out, because now you can't sit up here and say you didn't do this because I just told you. I'm doing the same thing to you that you just did to me. And if it was cool when you do it, you better not say a word to me when I do it. And on that, I will land my plane.
That was good. That's some good food right there. Like I said, there's so much to this right here. I've studied this stuff, studied it and studied it until I became exhausted because it runs so deep. But I did want to go back to what 10th is saying, and then Kaysen, you was like, it seemed like you're a narcissist, but it's not, because you know if you're being real when you're saying those words to your person. But I just want to kind of give out some traits of a narcissist. And one of the traits is you lack empathy. Narcissists lack empathy. So you have to check yourself and see, do you lack empathy? And if you lack empathy, you know, that's something that you have to pray to your creator, or, you know, have a conversation with yourself about lacking empathy, because narcissist does not have any empathy at all. Do anybody want to interject on that before I go?
Jason got his hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Casey.
So while you guys are talking, one thing I noticed overall is that a narcissist acts different outside the doors in public than they do behind closed doors. You have two different personalities. And like Tinsel was saying, like, you know, if I tell my, you know, girl I love her and this and that, when I say it, I mean it. You do that outside the doors in front of the world, and you'll do that inside the home as well. It's only you two. And I think that's one of the key ways of knowing if you're dealing with a real narcissist, because it's like they're an angel. They're perfect, you know, they're charming, they're sociable, you know what I mean? They seem like they care about others, you know, they're dapping up, everybody likes them, you know what I mean? They're that guy or that woman. Then
Right.
when you're behind the doors, it's a whole nother beast. That's when they don't degrade you out in public, because that'll make them look bad. They're not gonna do nothing that makes them look bad. But once you get behind them closed doors, oh yes, you're gonna get the business. They'll tell you everything that you like and whatsoever at that moment in time. But yeah, that's one thing I noticed about it. You know, even in the conversation with two guys, yeah, they definitely act totally different outside than inside.
Exactly. And that's a way of you checking yourself to say, hey, because I'm running this down because 10th, you hit that on the nail. You need to know. A lot of times we wonder if you're a narcissist or not. So these are the notes that I had, to try to ask myself, and I know I have empathy or whatever. So like I said, one of the things is if you lack empathy, check within yourself and just see why you lack empathy. And another thing is you a constant need for attention and validation. You just seeking for attention and validation or whatever. That's what narcissists do. And just because you seek for attention and validation, it doesn't necessarily say that you are a narcissist. If you can self-check, because narcissists can't self-check, they're just to make to sum this thing up.
Now,
Narcissists don't self-check.
when you actually think about, you know what I'm saying? Think about what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? A person is gonna sit back and examine themselves to the T. See, not a lot of people is willing to do that. Not a lot of people is willing to stop and critique themselves because all they know is what they know because I've been this person, been myself for so many years. I know myself, so supposedly, quote unquote. So people sometimes come through and they play the role, but it's more or less like like what Kingston said, it's a double-minded person. You know what I'm saying? So if it's a double-minded person, they're not gonna look at themselves when they have someone to look at. You see what I'm saying? So therefore that's the reason, probably the reason why they shift the blame and all of this as what Goddess was saying. And so all of these play prime uh, a prime key to figuring out or even unlocking their higher self because sometimes you don't have to just look at the situation and be on the outside looking in because most people don't actually do that to themselves in that moment. And so if a person that do that to themselves in that moment, then they would absolutely lose track or focus upon the whole goal of what they're trying to achieve. Does that make sense?
You lost me a little bit at the end, but the key point is, I mean, if I'm understanding you correctly, um, at the very end, if I'm understanding you correctly, are you saying that at the moment when something is happening, a person don't have time to self-check?
But see, a person wouldn't want to self-check. You see what I'm saying? Because these things, self-checking is something that's required, but yet not required, and something that's wanted and sometimes not wanted. So therefore, if you know what you're doing and you self-check, try to self-check yourself, you're gonna overlook this on purpose, and then other people would absolutely hit it on the head and try to change it or critique it. But that's the whole like you never know because you have to wait for that moment. You have to wait for this certain time. You have to wait for you have to wait for something just to get across to see about the something that you're trying to see.
I understand that. And at this a moment is not about if you're in the midst of something. Is we're actually talking about if you want to know if you're a narcissist or not, because a lot of people question that, once they hear the word narcissist and you dissect that word, you start wondering, am I a narcissist? And the reason why people ask themselves, am I a narcissist? Because we carry the traits because of things that has happened. Going back to what Unc said, it's learned behavior. We learn things and we think it's the norm for it. So what I'm doing is I'm just diving into for our panel and also just for people that is viewing this to, if they have that question, they can self-check themselves at any given time. It don't have to be in the midst of a situation that's going on. When you have time alone or whatever, riding down the street in the car, whatever you're doing, you check yourself. If you're wondering that, because a lot of time things are gonna be called out when you're on this subject that's gonna make you question. Just like with Casey when he said, well, the way you're, it sounds like I'm a narcissist from the things I was saying, but you have to do a self-check. And so I'm just calling out some things. Anybody
Right.
else?
The one who brought us all
We
together.
are all talent. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay, cool. We are all just a talent here. You know what I mean? Just a bunch of people that just came together that just had some things in common, that found common ground and were able to talk and to come together and make a podcast happen. So again, titles are not important to me. What's important to me
Understandable.
is the message. Ensuring that everyone gets the message that needs to be received here. And today's message is just being able to identify narcissistic behaviors. What I'm saying, try and give you a couple things that you can actually do to cope with and to be able to pull yourself out of that situation, because it's never going to end well, no matter how you look at it. And I was just sitting here thinking as I changed thoughts, right? So am I toxic? Am I the problem? Because if I deal with somebody who I know is a narcissist, I give them back every bit of that energy and it feels good to me. I love it. So does that make me a narcissist? Because I don't start it, but as soon as you bring it to me, I'm gonna give it back to you because I recognize it. Am I the problem? Damn.
Oh, it's all being petty. Extra petty.
I'm big petty. Let you know, bro. So, but I mean, in it's all fun and games until somebody's feelings get hurt, right? So, but when you sit down and you think about it, you just want to be able to identify and detach from, saying the narcissistic behaviors. You want to be able to just find yourself and find peace. And the best way to deal with the narcissist is by not allowing them to knock you off your square, by not allowing them to get you out of character. The second you get out of character, they got you. They have you. You know what I'm saying? And they pretty much can do whatever it is, ragdoll you at that point, because you are out of your element, you're out your mind. You're just focused on the one thing that they wanted you focused on. It's a lot of times, if you look outside of that picture, I like to look at it like the magician. Um, what do you call it? The three cards.
What, smoke and mirrors? No.
Yes, exactly. Smoke and mirrors, misdirection. There it is. A lot of times they have you focused on the one thing that's sitting right here in front of you. Pay attention to my left hand. Pay attention to my left hand. Don't watch my right. Pay attention to my left hand.
The sleight of hand.
Exactly. So you're looking at these people and they got you focused here and they got you out of your character, which is over here on this other side, because they only want you focused on this little small thing that I want you upset about. And you fall into that trap every time because they know how to manipulate you. Learn to pull back and learn to understand when somebody is drawing you in. And once you can see that they're drawing you in, detach. You know what I'm saying? Recognize it for what it is and move forward. And that's
I'm gonna have to keep it real with you. That is the hardest thing to do, especially when you are like a short-tempered person, and you know what I'm saying. I want to, like, you, especially if you're the type of person that want the last word, won't you know what I mean? Like, people out there like that.
agreed. And narcissists always want the last word. They're never gonna let you say anything differently. Always want the last word. You can be in an argument and you can be done, like, all right, you done? And then they'll have something else to say. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, you got it. And just let them have it. I understand where you're coming from, Loki, but remember what I told you before. Especially if you are quick tempered, answer the why. Why does this make me so upset? Why does this knock me off my square? Why? Once you figure out that why, you don't allow anything else to come in to disturb that peace, because you figured out the core problem And once you fix the core problem, all the other stuff is just laughable. You just see it for exactly what it is. Oh, you've been sitting up here playing on my trauma, my childhood trauma that I didn't recognize, but you did. But now that I recognize it, it's no longer hurting me. You know what I'm saying? But that's another subject for a whole another podcast. And I'm off my soapbox right here. I'm gonna
And
go
I
ahead and put myself
understand what
back
you
on mute.
I understand what you're saying, and it makes a whole lot of sense. And I appreciate you for reminding me who I am and what I'm trying to achieve. And for the future of the listeners out there, always remember to self-check yourself, to understand yourself, to rise above yourself.
Thank you, Loki, for that.
Right on.
So I'm going back a little bit or whatever to try to finish up how you know how to self-check to determine whether you are a narcissist or maybe just carrying a trait. And I'll go back again, lack of empathy, needing constant attention and validation, manipulation and exploitation, meaning that if you check yourself and you see that you're always being manipulative and you're always exploiting people, when things don't go right, you're trying to find somebody to join side with you, you know. That's a key sign, or whatever. And it brings you to having the narcissist having so-called flying monkeys. I don't know if y'all ever heard of that term. And if you have, could you chime in and explain?
So the flying monkeys is a symbolism as we know from the Wizard of Oz, right? The soldiers, ones that they send out to attack you, the ones that they
Right.
constantly send over in your direction to pull on your energy to just keep you discombobulated, knock you off your square, can't get it right. You know what I'm saying? So it's one thing after another. They just continuously just come at you, attacking you. And that's basically what they're talking about.
Exactly. I just had something like that happen to me probably about a year ago. Actually, it hadn't even been a year yet. I was dealing with these group of people. There's like three of them, and I always wondered, like, what's my purpose? Because when you're a helper and you just love people, it's in my nature to kind of like flock to this, to certain individual, even if they're not even, it would be somebody that I wouldn't hang out with or whatever. But anyway, I was hanging out with them and I kept praying about it, asking God, why am I connected to these people? To make a long story short, I was hanging around them and everything, not knowing that I was being baited in, not knowing that I was being gaslit in so many ways. And then after God started revealing things to me and I pulled away. And when I pulled away, there comes the flying monkeys. It would mean that they'll have people, they'll tell their side of the story of what that happened, why I'm not around or whatever. And so to get them on their side. And then all of a sudden, here goes the attack, somebody just coming and attacking. And that, and it happened within my family, people thinking like once I pulled away, I'm being attacked for the things that was said, by family members or whatever. So, you have to be careful for those flying monkeys. And the thing that helped me, especially within the last year when that happened to me, because it had never happened to me, outside of my family, what I did, I just ignored it. And I made sure when somebody came to me, I didn't bash that person. I didn't do anything. I just didn't tell what happened. I didn't say anything. I just moved on, just kept it short so that it won't keep going back and forth and it won't add on to all the flying monkeys, because that's what they do. They go run till she said, that he say, she say thing or whatever.
So thank you for your lovely explanation. And are there any more remarks or
I'm going to turn it over to
Okay.
I'm done.
Actually has her hand raised. Let's go ahead and respect the guest. So let's say what she has to say.
I just wanted to touch on real quickly that narcissism in relationships can be completely like emotional and draining. It's damaging to one's self-esteem, and victims usually experience long-term mental health issues, as well as physical problems, headaches, muscle tension, stomach issues, so forth and so on. All I want to say is this, is that, yeah, we may have a bit of narcissism in ourselves, but it's how you deliver the message. It's not, it's what you say, and it's how you deliver. And the thing is that I feel like, now that I'm fully aware of what narcissists do, I just completely avoid it, you know? But that's all I have to say. I'm going to turn it to you, Unc.
Thank you much. Thank you much. So this pretty much concludes our podcast for today. Hope everybody got something out of it, and that the message that we actually put out here was able to resonate, and that people were able to see that you're not alone, first and foremost. There is a community of people who deal with this, and we are all here to support each other. Tap in with us here. Follow us on all your socials. You can check us out. So we'll keep you guys posted. All types of VIP things coming along, big things pop here at AIO. You know what I'm saying? So we all in. We all in one. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Love and peace.